In Deuteronomy chapter 23, God lists a lot of rules for who cannot join in the assembly of the Lord. Like who can't go to the place where the Lord is going to be and he's going to interact with the people. For example, you weren't allowed to join in the assembly of the Lord if you got hurt in a certain way, or if your parents made a certain type of mistake, or if you were a foreigner, or if you were the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, or 10th generation of a foreigner. If you fell into any of those categories, you were not allowed to gather in the assembly of the Lord. And when people knew that, I bet they walked around just kind of feeling a little bit on edge, like, ooh, I hope I don't get hurt in that kind of way, or I hope I don't suddenly discover that my parents or a generation or multiple generations before me made a mistake that's going to exclude me from being able to interact with the Lord, with God. Well, thankfully, that's not something that you and I need to worry about. We don't need to be on edge at all, wondering if we've done anything or if anyone else has done anything that's going to keep us from preventing, or that's going to keep us from interacting with God himself. In the book of Hebrews, if you read through the book of Hebrews, the whole point of the book of Hebrews is that Jesus is great, and he's greater than anything you can put your trust in. And it gives some wonderful examples of different things that people put their trust in, and makes a great case for why Jesus is greater. But he calls, the writer to the Hebrews says that Jesus is the great high priest. He's the great sacrifice. He's the great mediator between us and God. He's the one who makes peace. And because of what Jesus already did in Hebrews chapter 4, that's why the writer to the Hebrews says, well, then let us approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Those are two pretty important words, mercy and grace. Do you know what the difference is between the words mercy and grace? Mercy is when you see someone who is hurt and your heart goes out to them. You can't help yourself. You jump in and you help. It's the word that Jesus used to describe the person who helped the man who was beaten on the side of the road, the Samaritan man, the parable of the Good Samaritan. He said, the one who saw the man who was beaten on the side of the road and helped him, he's the one who had mercy. And grace, well, grace, as you probably know, is that it's when you're given the opposite of what you deserve. If you deserve something bad, you receive something good. Grace. And the writer to the Hebrews says that when we approach the throne of God and in our time of need, we receive both those things. Which means that if you're beaten up in any way, if you're hurting, if life is hard, if some of your wounds are self-inflicted because the sin keeps getting the best of you, because you keep falling into a temptation, because you can't let the anger, the resentment, the lust, whatever it is, go. You're going to receive God's mercy. His heart's going to go out to you, and he's going to help. And if you know you don't deserve it, well, then it's a wonderful blessing that you're going to find grace too. Always. The same grace that gave Jesus what he didn't deserve. Punishment for all of our sins, the weight of the sins and regrets and guilt of the whole world all on his shoulders. He didn't deserve that. But that's what he took. That's what he received. So that you could be the recipient of a heaven and a love and a forgiveness. You didn't have to earn in order to know that it's yours. And so the invitation from the writer to the Hebrews, let us approach the throne of grace with confidence. Just think to yourself right now, or maybe sometime before you go to bed tonight, if I were standing right in front of God, if I could ask him for anything, or if I could lay any burden into his hands, take it completely out of mine, what would I say to him? Once you think of something, then do that. and because you will receive mercy and you will find grace, then close your eyes and rest well tonight, my friends.